All right, so today my team has queued up the best financial advice, at least they could find, from Reddit, and we're gonna do a live reaction to some of these comments on Reddit. So here we go. So ask Reddit, what's the best financial advice you can give that is not talked about enough? All right, I'm kind of excited for these. This should be pretty fun. Balance, resist debt, save for things when you can, live below your means for a better tomorrow. But at the same time, safeguard what you've built up so it can't be taken away from you. Watch who you marry and keep your health, especially in the US. Two biggest wealth killers are sickness and divorce. Man, well put, actually. Let's talk about the divorce one for a second. The biggest decision ever, and it sounds obvious, but is who you marry. And then also the second follow-up with that would be how you marry them and how you go into a marriage. I'm gonna talk to people that actually have money right now. An advice I got from a mentor was this, about people that talk about prenups. And a lot of men say, well, I don't want to get married. It's a big liability. There's no upside for a man being married. First off, I think there is a huge upside for being married. Married men statistically make more money than their non-married counterparts. Furthermore, just in my own marriage, I have seen huge benefits from being married. But I talked to like a friend, he's super high net worth individual. He's like, I don't want to get married because if I get divorced, she's going to take half my money. One maybe potential thing, and he thought about doing a prenup, but he didn't want to offend her on a prenup. And I said, well, what if you did a tiered prenup? And this is from a mentor I got this advice from. I did not do this, but I've seen other people do this, is hey, I'm already wealthy. Hey, I'm marrying you. My lawyers are making me do this. Blame this on somebody else. But say, hey, if we get married and it just doesn't work out for 1 year, I'll pay you $50,000 at the end of the first year. If it's 2 years, it's $100,000. If it's 3 years, it's $150,000. If it's 4 years, it's $50,000 a year for how many years of marriage we've been married. If we're married, or when we're married 10 years though, yeah, 10 years, a decade. If we're together for a decade, yeah, we're full in. The prenup goes away, it burns off. That's been a very useful way to approach a prenup. It's like, yeah, I want to be married long term, you do too. So after 10 years, everything burns off. But until then, for whatever reason, we do 50-50 splits. And I had a mentor, he did this on a marriage and actually got divorced 3.5 years in. And he said it was the best thing that ever happened to him. Was he paid out, I can't remember the number, it was $150,000 that they had agreed to beforehand, and it saved him a ton of money. So on that was awesome. Now let's unpack this further. This is actually full of good juice, actually. Resist debt, I love it. Personal debt, I love the definition of what is a wealthy man or woman. The definition of a wealthy man or woman, according to actually Howard Lutnick, I got this from, current Secretary of Commerce at the White House, very successful dude. He said a wealthy man or woman is someone who makes more than they spend and has no personal debt. Now, right here it talks about debt, and debt for a long time I think there's good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is consumer debt, going into things for consumption purposes. There's also good debt. A healthy S&P Fortune 500 company has about 10% debt on their balance sheet. That's like the optimal number. If you're at 1% debt, it's not enough. Actually, a smart financier would say, hey, we got to get that up to 10%. That's good debt. Bad debt is consumer debt. So I think it says it right here. And then lastly is health. I love what he says, sickness and divorce. Health is huge. My dad has a great saying. He says, if you can stay healthy, wake up every day and try, you will eventually succeed in the United States of America. He goes, you were blessed being born in the United States of America, number one. Number two, get up every day and try. And number three, stay healthy. And the healthy part is sometimes a black box of all sorts of stuff, but I think that's huge. Well done. Next one, stop chasing your passion degree if it doesn't pay the bills. Following your passion is only for privileged rich people. 100% agree. I think one of the biggest disservices universities or people tell is go find your passion. And then a lot of young people my age go, I don't feel like I'm passionate about anything. And they go to classes in school and they're like, they fall back on, I'm supposed to find something that I just intrinsically love, and that I'm gonna magically turn my love into a business and make millions of dollars. The truth of the matter is, number one, if I did that, my passion at the time was skiing. I love snow skiing. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like, I probably wouldn't have made much money skiing. Number one. Number two, most passion jobs that you go into eventually become a job. I mean, look no further than the NBA or any sports professionals. You ask those NBA players, most of them treat it like a job. They show up and work. Even people that go into something they really like, most things end up being a job. So you might as well pick a job that makes you lots of money so that you don't have to work your whole life, that you can actually take that money and actually go spend time on your passions. My whole mindset shifted when I learned that. And I said, I'm gonna make tons of money so that I can actually go skiing a lot, which is pretty darn fun. And if I don't like skiing anymore, I can go snowmobiling or go boating or whatever the thing is. I'm a big believer in that. I think it's a big disservice a lot of young people have, myself included, of searching for this perfect passion that they just wake up inspired every day about. I think it's a myth, and it's for very few people actually find that, and I'll also couple that with a way to make money. All right, next one here, pay yourself first. People always pay their bills, then save whatever is left. Instead, you should set up a direct deposit to high yield savings account so you never even see that money. I've heard this comment before, pay yourself first, and people have a lot of different ways to do that. I like the concept though. Now, a lot of people, like it says, like it's the rocks in the jar. If you've ever seen this analogy, where if you have a jar and you have sand and little rocks and big rocks, if you put the sand in first, then the little rocks, the big rocks won't fit. But if you take that same jar and put the big rocks in first, then the sand, then you can even put water in and fill up the top. Same thing's true with finances. I'm a big believer in paying the big rocks first. If you're religious, some religions have a tithe, or I think you should do at least 10% to a church or a charity or something outside of yourself, whatever that is. I think that for me, that's blessed me like crazy, okay? Number two, you should still pay your bills. Some people are like, don't pay your bill. Pay your bills, obviously. But furthermore, make your bills much smaller if you can. And I take usually the majority of the rest of the money, and it goes right into, this person says, a high yield savings account. I've really liked the Ray Dalio all-weather portfolio. When I was starting out, this portfolio changed my life. Ray Dalio backdated like a 100-year portfolio. It had amazing performance. You can go Google it right now. It's a very diversified portfolio. The worst drawdown has ever been, like, I think it was a negative 1%. It averaged about 6 to 7% per year. This is your safe long-term bucket. And then furthermore, I've used the 40-40-20 rule. So 40% is super safe, like I just talked about. Another 40% is your mid-risk, which is real estate, stocks, equities, things like that. And then 20% is your high risk. That's crypto. That's, call it your gambling money, your fun, the money that you want to spend on optimizing. But you got to have the 40 and the 40 to go and do the 20% risk. I loved that when I was starting out, and the Ray Dalio all-weather portfolio was awesome on that small 40% risk. So I think this is a good way to say it. Pay yourself first is awesome. One more thing I'll say for business owners, probably a lot of people watching this, you probably run your own business. I had a great mentor tell me this. He used the terminology of king's cash, and I love that. And he goes, what happens in a business, not personal finances, in business, when you make money in a business and it just sits there in the bank account? I'm talking small business. The partners, the team members, you'll be surprised. Everyone will just grab at that money and it'll be gone. And you'll make a bigger sum of money. And then everyone, it sits there for a month or 2 or 3 or 4, and then everyone figures out ways to spend it and the money's gone. I've seen many business operators never pay themselves out of the business through what's called king's cash. And so what we made a thing in our business, like, no, the business is here. When we were starting out, it was just me, Mason, and a few other guys. We're like, we got to pay king's cash. We are taking distributions and we're going to figure out what to do with the rest. If you let money just sit there for too long, the partners in a small firm will figure out how to spend it. It's really interesting how that happens. I love that concept, to make sure you're taking distributions, because if you starve, your business will eventually starve as well as the owner. And that was crucial for us when starting out. It actually gave us fire and fuel to go and make more money in the future. Investing with relatives or people close to you that consider are honest individuals, but later find out or wake up to them not being trustworthy, honest individuals. All part of our journey though, no regrets. You hear this story a lot about people who invest with family or friends. Some people say, I don't invest with family and friends, which is probably a good rule as well. Something I have done, I actually have invested with some friends. I've invested not with other friends. Friend or not, I treat a business deal like a business deal. Family member or not, I treat it like a business deal. So on that note, if I'm gonna invest in someone's thing, I have 2 rules always. Do they have third-party administration, which is a third-party company that actually administers and runs all the reporting and accounting for them on a fund or offering? Number 2, do they do annual audits? Most people that are your buddy from high school don't do either one of those. And so as a rule, I just tell them, hey, sorry, I don't invest in stuff that doesn't have third-party administration or annual audits. I just don't do it. Well, come on, Bridger. I'm just like, hey, it's just a rule of mine. But if you want me to invest, please go get a third-party audit and administration. I'd love to look at it. That little rule has saved me on so many deals, so many problems, because it's really hard to fake an audit. Bernie Madoff, you know, the big Ponzi scheme, Bernie Madoff, he went 30 years, never did an audit, ever. He would tell me, hey, if you want an audit, go somewhere else. I don't do audits. And he turned out to be one of the biggest Ponzi schemes of all time on Wall Street. or surrounded by very smart individuals that gave him lots of money. Good rule of mine, always make sure you have third-party audits, always make sure you have third-party administration. All of my funds, all my offerings, we always do that with all of our stuff. So I think you can invest with family and friends and people that you know that are trustworthy and honest, but just, hey, let's get an audit. Let's get a third-party administrator. Worst investment advice I ever got. Someone said here, you're too young to think about retirement. I always think about, I'm thinking about that all the time. Not retiring myself, but where is my family's net worth at for retirement? That should be, you should be thinking that from day one. And I love what he said here. That was bad advice because people are like, don't even worry about it. You don't have to worry about that till you're 55. Now, I think the younger generation is much more attuned to this, especially if you're watching this video, you know that kind of stuff. But I think it's top of mind, something I did. I love a Tony Robbins quote. He says, what you focus on grows. And so I said, well, if I'm in the game of business, I was going to school for business. And the ultimate goal of businesses is usually to make money, right? Like money is at least the outcome. Let's focus on that. I set up a monthly meeting with myself every month. I tracked every bank account I owned, every business bank account, every credit card, and I just made sure I had a statement that I produced on a spreadsheet. And I started this back in 2017, I believe. I have a record all the way back and I did it every month. I still do it today. Me and my wife just did it last week. A couple of things here. Number one, what you focus on grows. So I could see all my assets, my debt, my income, everything that was going on. Now, I didn't get to the detail of like every expense because I didn't have time to do that. And maybe you could do that. But I just wanted to see a snapshot of where am I at? And I would try to calculate what's my investable net worth right now. And at the start, it was like $5,000, but then it slowly got bigger and bigger. Today, I still love doing that for two reasons. It keeps us on track. We have dozens and dozens of bank accounts and all sorts of crazy stuff, me and my wife, with all of our planning and family office kind of stuff. Number two, though, it serves as a journal that I can look back and see what I was investing into, what I was thinking about back 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. And it helps me train my brain of why did I miss that trend? Why didn't I put money there? Why did I sell too soon? I had a lot of money in one particular asset and I sold it way too soon, and it would have been worth way more now if I would have just held it. And I look back and I'm like, dang, what was I doing? Like, why? And sometimes I'll take notes on the side of why I make certain decisions that month. It's been hugely successful for me. What you focus on grows. If you're in the game of money and building business and stuff, it might be a good idea to start focusing and making a ledger of what you're doing right now. Let's keep going on this. Worst financial advice you ever got. Mom, you pay so much of your income to taxes. You need some sort of debt to write off. Go buy a car or a house. What? Mom might be onto something here. So this guy apparently doesn't understand what his mom's saying, but we just got 100% bonus depreciation back from the big, beautiful bill. If you're making a lot of money and you, again, talk to a tax professional, buying a rental house, you can do accelerated depreciation and actually take a lot of that depreciation day one. Meaning, if you buy $1 million home, in some cases you can write off $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 of depreciation in that year. So if you made $300,000 of income in a year and you go buy $1 million house, and by the way, you put down 20%, $200,000, you could buy $1 million house, you could write off all $300,000 and you would pay an effective tax rate of $0. That's not tax advice. Go talk to your CPA, all right? Number two, you can buy vehicles over 7,000 pounds. This is why people buy Range Rovers and G-Wagons and jets all the way at the end of the year. Because they go, I have a big tax bill. We have 100% bonus depreciation. You can buy it as a business expense. And you buy a $150,000 Range Rover. That then is a $150,000 deduction on this year's taxes, which is kind of cool. Now a note, if you sell the car the next year, it's now a capital gain and the money comes back the next year. So be aware of that. But a lot of people just buy another car the next year and another car the next year. That's why you see people like, I have a neighbor, like he has a new Range Rover every year on a lease. And the same thing with lease payments. He has it through his business and they can write off the lease payment expenses. Again, not tax advice. Go follow somebody and get a lawyer and CPA. But it's funny, this guy, I think he thought it was bad advice. It actually can be decent advice depending on how much money you're making. Those are a few of them. All right, now we're pivoting over to good advice from Reddit. Apparently good advice in quotes. We'll see if it's good or not. From Reddit on financial advice. All right, here we go. Acorns app is a good start. I also have a bot that works really well within it. Initially, I did a year's worth of paper trading on TradingView. So the Acorns app, I've never used it, so I've heard, I have a friend, he has his kids go and actually invest into stocks at 12 years old, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, And what he does every month, he gives them an allowance of a few $100s per month, or if they earn it, it goes into the Acorns account. Acorns allows you to buy fractional shares. And so instead of spending, sometimes some of these shares are hundreds of dollars for one share, Acorns allows you to buy $3 of a share or $10 of a share. And so it trains, this guy trains his kids to go and learn investing. Hey, you like Nike? And they would go look at, oh yeah, I love Nike. I think they're awesome. Okay, let's think about buying some Nike stock. And they would go on Acorns and buy $30 of Nike stock. And it was a cool way that when they wore Nike shoes, they also were owning Nike stock to train their brain to think that way. I thought it was actually pretty cool. So I want to try that with my kids when we get a few years older. My kids are both young right now. We'll see how they do. I would not listen to YouTube videos on people who do day trading or claiming they're making millions trading options, etc. You need to be smart and invest for the long term. I would start by investing in index funds, for example, low-cost S&P 500 index funds with Vanguard or Fidelity. I would invest some money every 2 weeks. I would also look into retirement accounts. I like this guy. I don't know who this guy is, but I like this guy a lot. I 100% agree. I, for years, have said, don't be a trader, be an investor. Be a long-term investor, unless you want to make that your full-time job. Then you can go into trading and do all the courses, paper trade, do the whole thing, but treat it like a full-time job. For the vast majority of people that have other jobs or other stuff, be an investor, not a trader. And what that means is, I'm gonna dollar cost average in the S&P 500 index funds. I'm gonna get in the habit of investing. I'm gonna start buying. I believe that's a great way to go. Like proven time over time, it is the best way to approach the market for the passive investor. Don't freak out when things go up or down. Rule for me, every time it goes down, I buy more. Like I like doing that. If there's a big dip, I'm like, let's buy some more. I like to throw a little capital in. I dollar cost average in, which means you're just putting in a little dollar amount. This guy said every 2 weeks. You can do once a month, every 2 weeks. Some people do every day. Now these apps allow you to do every day. And it's spot on. And actually, I'm gonna put that against this other one right here. I'm new to investing. What should I do? I'm in the US. I want to invest, not trade, which is good. I've watched an entire 50-minute YouTube video, and the most I got out of it was throwing index funds. He says this, quote, I only have $40 in buying power right now, but I'm adding $20 every day and will add more than $20 each day when I finish paying off some other stuff soon. I want to grow my money, just don't know how. 40 bucks ain't getting us nowhere, okay? $20 a day, maybe over a decade, will get us somewhere. I always ask this question to someone when they ask me investing advice, where are you at? How much capital do you have disposable to put into investing? I'm a big believer that your best investment, I'm gonna go 2 routes here. Number 1 is increasing how much money you make right now. This guy sounds like he doesn't have much money and some debt. If you can take an online course, a trade, something to make your skills sharper so that you can go earn more income, that's the best investment you can make. If you're making $2,000 a month and you can go learn a course on video and video editing and now you can make $4,000 a month, you just double, that's 100% return, right? Like you doubled your income and that's every month. And you compound that over a year, like that is a phenomenally better investment than investing $20 a day into the S&P 500. I'm a big believer in sharpening skills until you get to a point where there's nothing else that you feel like you can invest into to get that return. Then and only then I would dump some money into investment funds. From personal experience, I remember at 23 years old, I joined a mastermind networking group that was $30,000. I treated it like an investment. And guess what? I went to events, I met cool people, and it sharpened my skills like crazy, and it took my earning power. I was making X number of dollars a year. I think I tripled or 4X my income over the next 18 months as a direct result from that event. And also I joined another one that was $14,000. Like pretty cool. So you combine those up, 30,000 plus 14,000 was about $44,000. Am I doing my math right? Doing my math right, all right? It's hard to do math on camera. $44,000 investment. I was making, at the time, $80,000 to $100,000 a year. I think at the end of the next 18 months, I was making $400,000 to $500,000 a year. And I would point to a lot of stuff, but it was a direct result from those investments. I could have made an 8% return in the S&P 500. I'm very happy I went and sharpened my skills. I joined another mastermind that was $150,000 for the same reason. I continue to do this as self-education. So when you hit a point though, when I've maxed out the number of skills and things that I can learn, at least with the time I have now, I have money sitting that I don't know what to do with, then and only then I would enter the market. For this guy who has $40 in buying power and $20 each day, I would tell you, get on YouTube University, Go on chat and start learning skills to make more money. I would not start buying index funds, actually. I would invest in skills that could do better. Because people will respond to this. I see responses here. Yeah, get a 401k, an IRA, an HSA. Like, you can do whatever you want. I'm not his financial advisor, but for me, I'm gonna go get a second job, a third job. I'm gonna pay off debt. And that's the second line of this is, if you're paying 30% a year in credit card debt and you pay off that credit card debt, it's like you just made a 30% investment. Or if you have an 8% student loan debt and you pay off that debt, it's like you just guaranteed an 8% return on your family's net worth. That's a pretty good investment. And so when it comes to, if you have consumer debt, paying down that debt is oftentimes the best investment you could make. Because you're gonna go, like, look at this. If you had an 8% student loan, you can go speculate in the S&P 500. The average return is 8%, but that's average. Some years it's up, some years it's down. Or you can just go guarantee an 8% return. Man, I'm gonna take the guarantee every day. So that's what I would say from someone that's just starting out. From an old boss, quote, why take any criticism from someone you would not take any advice from? That's interesting. We worked in a hospitality industry, and it helped a lot to realize that you should not be worried about what 99% of the population say or think about you. I think that's interesting. Also though, so he's saying, don't take criticisms from someone that you wouldn't take advice from. Not a bad point. And actually, I think it's important to be selective with who you take advice from. For a long time, I think it's good practice to ask advice. People love to get advice. They will happily tell you what's wrong with you. And so be selective on who gives and who you receive that advice from and how you internalize that advice. I also like to operate from a great principle from C.S. Lewis. He said, every man or woman is your superior in some way, shape, or form. Every person can teach you something. It doesn't matter if it's a bum on the street. They know more about something in life than you do. They might know the interworkings of the hood or the street or where to find food or how to, they might know other stuff that you're not aware of from their past. Don't overlook or estimate anybody that you meet. And so I would say that with caution. I think it is actually very good to take advice as a boss, as a leader of a company. Your brand new, most junior employee actually sometimes can give some very solid advice and or point out blind spots that you are missing. And I think it's actually important to be cognizant of that and actually ask for that. So I'd take this with a little grain of salt. The other side of that is, don't take advice though from people that you don't respect or don't have the fruits of the outcomes that you're looking for. If you're looking for marriage advice, go take that advice from someone who has a great marriage. It sounds obvious, and we don't do it all the time, especially with people on YouTube. Look at the fruits of what they've done with their life, and the advice they're specifically giving, I think, is massive.